Okay, I'd like to thank everybody who is attending this webinar. My name is Matthew. I am a social worker at PSS. I'm filling in for Shaina, and we are pleased to have Dr. David Neuman here today to talk about stretching and exercising. And so I turn it over to you now, David.
Oh, that sounds good. So what I'd like to do, welcome everybody who is listening today. I appreciate you taking time out to hear me. What I'd like to do is share my screen with y'all. And I'm happy to get right into it, really. So we are Pop Doc, and we are making the move to better joint health. I'm an orthopedic surgeon by trade, and for about 15 years performing a lot of surgery. And I believe strongly that people, if they understand their bodies more and do some controlled joint health activities and exercise, they can feel less pain, stay as independent as possible, and be able to focus on other positive aspects of their livelihood. So we are making the move to better joint health. And when I start talking to people, I like to start with a few stretching exercises that are done in a seat. So they're very easy and safe to follow. If anybody listening does have ongoing pain at rest in any areas that we're stretching, then perhaps they just take it easy or skip that exercise. Stretching and the activities we are going to do should not elicit sharp pain. You can feel some pulling and stretching of some of the soft tissues, and that's normal, and that's kind of why we are doing the activity. So I'm going to jump right into it. So the first one is active shoulder motion. So while you're seated, you can do one arm or both at the same time, and it's just about reaching your hands in front of you and then up to the ceiling as far and as high as you can. So for this exercise today, we're just going to hold that stretch for about 5 seconds or so, and then slowly return it back to where you began, which is potentially your hands on your laps or something. If you are doing an exercise like this at home, it is something that you can repeat, meaning start with your hands on your thighs and then slowly lift your arms up above your head. You do that 3 or 4 times, that kind of works out the muscles a little bit more. There's also one called shoulder scapular rotation. So you're bringing your arms, with the image on the left, you're bringing your arms out to the side, and then you're just reaching your hands up above. So that's stretching out the sides of your body as well as your shoulders. Once again, once you get up there, you can hold it there for 4 or 5 seconds and bring it back down. The activity or exercise can be repeated 4 or 5 times to have more of an exercise or almost a workout, just using your own body weight. Then we're going to move towards the neck, and I know that as we age, our neck sometimes becomes stiff and become painful. So once again, you can just get to where you can get to, and don't push it too hard. And feeling a gentle pulling is normal, but a sharp stabbing pain should not be felt. So essentially, it's about just looking down to the floor as far as you can and holding it there for 4 to 5 seconds. And then gently coming back to the starting position, which is looking straight ahead, and then gently looking up, trying to get your eyes to look directly up at the ceiling, and that'll help stretch out your neck and keep it mobile. Once it's there, once you have that stretch for 4 or 5 seconds, you can relax back to the starting position. And once again, if you want to make this more of an activity rather than a stretch, you can do these types of motions 3 or 4 times. Then there's one called lateral rotation of the neck, and that's where you start looking straight forward, and you gently just try to look over one shoulder, letting your neck muscles stretch out a little bit. And after a count of 5 or so, you can turn back to the center and then back to the other side. And once again, for 4 or 5 seconds, you hold that up, and you get a gentle stretch to your neck. This again, if you do this 3 or 4 times to both directions, it's more of an active mobility exercise or activity. The lateral bend is the last one we'll do with the neck, and that's about just bending your ear to your shoulder without lifting your shoulders up. And once again, necks tend to get stiff as we age, and if we can do these gentle activity and stretch out the neck muscles a little bit, and then you can come back to the center and then do it towards the other side. Once again, we're doing more of a stretch than a mobility exercise right now, but the exercise can be done in repetition to give you more of a mobility activity. We're then going to turn more to the elbow and shoulder and wrist. So this can be done with one hand or both hands at the same time, where you start with your hands in one position and you gently just rotate your arms with your arms straight, rotate your arms so your thumbs are facing down or away from you as far as you can. And then you can slowly bring it back so your pinkies are facing up towards the ceiling as far as they can. You can hold that position at greatest position for you to get a stretch to this area. And if you do this in a repetitive fashion, then this is more of a mobility exercise. We're going to move back up to the shoulder, and it's called advanced horizontal adduction. And this is actually a passive motion and a stretch. So you're putting one arm straight in front of you, so your hand is pointing in front of you. With your other arm, you're pulling your arm across your body while keeping your elbow straight. And that should also give you a stretch in the upper back and the back of the shoulder area. And once again, the stretching out of these soft tissues kind of squeeze out the muscle and bring in new blood to kind of keep the muscles healthy. And once you've held it there for 5 or 7 seconds, you can slowly return to the starting position and then do the same thing with your other hand, keeping your elbow straight, hand straight in front of you, and gently pulling the arm across your body using your other arm. Once this is done for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, then you can relax again. We'll work our way down to the wrist. This is called circumduction. So you can do this with both wrists at the same time or one after the other. And as you can see from the image, the model is supporting their elbow on a chair to isolate the wrists, and then gentle full motions. You can start counterclockwise or clockwise, whichever one, so they're both moving together. And the goal is to make as big a circle as you can with only using your wrist. Once you make 5 rotations or so, you can gently move back the other way. This is not a speed exercise, but rather you try and get as big a circle as you can in a forward motion without going too quickly. And once again, this type of exercise stimulates the blood flow to the wrists and makes them more pliable or less stiff to allow you to use them better. We're going to go with some muscle flexibility and stretching. So with one hand, as you can see in the model, she's palm up, arm straight. With the other one, she's pulling back on her fingers while her elbow is straight to stretch out the forearm muscles. These are the forearm muscles that are called the flexors, the ones that bend your wrist upward. So once you hold that for 10 seconds or so, you can relax and then do the same thing with the other side. And the model has the arm facing straight ahead, but it's actually okay to do it with your arm just down below horizontal, depending on how strong your shoulder is or your ability to do that. Once this is done, we can go to the other side of the wrist. That's called the extensor muscles, the ones that make your wrist straight. And the same thing, she has her elbow straight, gently pushing down on the hand or fingers to stretch out the forearm muscles the ones that extend or make the wrist straight. Once that's held for 5 or 10 seconds, you can switch over to the other side to stretch out those muscles. And when you stretch out the muscles, once again, you're squeezing that muscle and you're wringing it out like a towel or a sponge. And then when you relax, new blood comes in to help feed the muscle cells, get rid of any metabolites or toxins such as carbon dioxide or lactic acid. And it helps keep the muscle functioning nicely. And the last one for the upper extremities is going to be a triceps stretch. So if you can, you try to put one hand behind your neck as you lift your arm over your elbow up into the sky as the model. And you take the other hand, you pull the elbow a little bit and then stretch to one side to stretch out your triceps, which are the muscles that straighten out your elbow. And it also works a little bit on the muscles along the side of your body. And this is a stretch, so once you hold it for 7 or 10 seconds, you can relax, and then you can do the same thing with the other side. This upper extremity routine can be repeated daily or every other day to really ultimately give you more mobility to all the joints in your upper extremities and your neck. So the muscles that we're working on in the joints, it's all part of the musculoskeletal system. So why care about your musculoskeletal system? Well, the musculoskeletal system provides form, support, stability, and movement to the body. It is a big system. It has about 206 bones, 360 joints, which is the coming together of 2 or more bones to permit motion. 126 of these joints are found in the extremities. That would be from the shoulder to the fingertips or from the hips to the toes. There are 33 individual vertebrae. The vertebrae are these complex bones that run from the base of your skull down to your tailbone. And there are about 640 muscles in the musculoskeletal system. I want to go through a joint and a little bit more of the anatomy, because if you understand the joints, then you can understand a little bit about what might be giving you pain and a little bit on how they function. So what we see in front of us is a left shoulder socket with the arm bone removed. So the humerus bone, or the bone at the top of your arm, is called your humerus. We take it out, we see a socket-like structure. So the joints are made up of articular cartilage, and that is the smooth, cushiony surface of all bones at the ends. It is very delicate, and it's the least resilient. So there are no nerves or blood vessels in the articular cartilage. So if it was to get worn out, bruised, split, or torn, it has a hard time healing, because the joints, as any other live tissue, they need to have blood flow to stay alive. The blood flow brings in the cells, brings in the nutrients for the cells of the articular cartilage. So if there are no blood vessels in the articular cartilage, it relies on the joint itself and the movement of the joint in order to stay healthy. The tendons are the brown objects in the image, and the tendon is a small rope-like structure that attaches the muscle to the bone to allow the joints to move. Ligaments, on the other hand, are also small rope-like structures, but they attach one bone to the next, and they provide what's called static stability. So when the joint isn't moving, the ligaments are the support structures that hold the joint in the right alignment. The joints are made up of bones, and the bones are those rigid structures. They're made primarily of calcium, and those are the orange-like structures there. And the bones give you rigid support, really supporting your muscles and your tendons to provide you the ability to do things. Structural cartilage. So the cartilage is not a calcium-based soft tissue, but it's more a rubber-like fibrous tissue. And it's a little washer that you can see in the image, and it deepens the socket of the glenoid, or as part of the shoulder. It's called the glenoid, this socket that we're looking at. And the structural cartilage, it deepens the socket as well as it provides a cushion like a washer might. And this structural cartilage is found in the knee. It's called the meniscus. Here in the shoulder, it's called the labrum. And in the hip, it's also called the labrum. The next are the red objects. Those are muscles. And the muscles are these meaty structures that connect to the bone with a tendon. And the muscles are those things that actually create the motion. Joints are complex, and there's many different structures within them. But I still think it's worthwhile talking about what the joint has in it, so you can understand your bodies a little bit more, because you're never too old to learn a few things to help you be happy and mobile and social. So the capsule and the lining of the joints, this is a sac essentially made up of cells and fibrous tissue, and they hold the bones together. And the lining has cells in it that spits out a fluid. It's more like a motor oil than a saliva-like fluid. And that's called the synovial lining. And these cells are in charge of lubricating the joint. And it's very important to move the joint because that will stimulate these cells to make more fluid. And the more fluid they have, or the joints have, the easier it is for one bone to slide over another with minimal friction. Within the blue, which is the capsule, are the nerves, blood vessels, and lymphatics. So the nerves are those small, tiny electrical channels that allow us to coordinate our function of the joints, but also it is the channels that we feel pain in the joints, whether it's pressure pain, sharp pain, dull pain. Those are all signals sent from nerves to the brain, and then we feel the pain. Blood vessels line this lining, and they bring the nutrients and essentially the food for the cells of all joints and all organs as well. But as we're talking to joints today, there are no blood vessels in the articular cartilage, but it's still, the blood vessels are important to feed the lining, the cells within the lining, the tendons, the ligaments, the fibrous, the structural cartilage. And lymphatics are other channels that bring fluid other than blood to and from the joint. In the shoulder, there are these sacs of potential fluid called bursa, and those are the purple structures. And the bursa are little sacs that allow one bone to glide over others within a space of the joint. So how do these joints function? So they function really through lubrication from the lining, the cells that line the joint. They spit out this motor oil type of fluid to lubricate the joint, and that allows easy motion across the bones. So once again, with the articular cartilage being healthy and the structural cartilage being intact, plus the lubrication allows for easy motion with minimal friction and therefore not much pain during motion. So the brain sends and receives the impulses through the nerves, and then the muscles react, and then purposeful action ensues. What do these joints do for us, as we all know? But just to kind of reiterate, they allow movement. They allow you to perform daily activity. They allow you to perform recreational activities, whether it's playing cards or gardening or dancing or whatever it might be. And it also allows you to work and to play. So the joints are obviously very important, and not to mention part of your daily activity might be getting in and out of a bed or a chair or taking long walks. Our joints are really important to be able to do any of these things. So when part of your musculoskeletal system is injured as a result of accident, illness, aging, or congenital or existing from birth, it can cause pain and affect other parts of your body. So when one joint is not functioning well, it's worth working on it to help it function better, because if your ankle is not working well, then potentially your knee or your hip or your back has to do extra work, and it can potentially start reminding you that it is not happy. So too many Americans have musculoskeletal problems, and as we age, our ability to heal and repair joint damage diminishes. It's about 1 out of 2 people from 18 years and about 3 out of 4 people when you're 65 or older that has some sort of musculoskeletal disease in the United States. So to keep your system healthy, it's important to appropriately use your joints. This will keep you as pain-free and independent as possible. I'm sure you guys know that pain is not your friend, and when you have pain, you're not as happy as you could be without the pain. In addition, as you age, you lose a little bit of your independence. So to be able to get dressed and comb your hair, brush your teeth, put your shoes on, get in and out of a bed, these are part of your independent skills, and you want to keep them as long as possible. So at PopDoc, we do believe in increasing the quality of joint functions. And the quality means being able to move, which is you're moving your joints or changing their position in space, and to maintaining a full or complete range of motion. Toning is another quality of the joints or the tissues around joints, and it's essentially working the muscles to make it firmer so it's not as soft. And this increases the ability to protect the joint during your everyday livelihood. Stretching is lengthening the muscle and tendon, and it's a motion activity that increases its pliability or its bendability or its resistance to traumatic failure. So a stretching routine, kind of like the one we did, can kind of protect your joints and keep the pain away or diminish the pain. Conditioning is another quality of joint function, and it means working the muscle to endure a daily repetitive task. And that could mean just walking up and down stairs or walking to the pharmacy or to the grocery store without fatigue or without feeling tired. And the more tired we feel, the more risk we potentially will do of damaging our joints. Strengthening is the last quality of joint function I'd like to talk about today, and that's about increasing the quality of the muscle fibers so they can create more force. That allows you to carry your groceries home, or to carry your laundry basket, or whatever things that involves having to have strength. So at PopDoc, we offer these joint preservation activity programs. It could be for any joint in the body, in which there are 5 to 10 exercises and activities for each joint to allow you to stay limber, stay strong, have less pain, stay social. So they are easy and safe to do. We've just done a few of them, and I'd like to turn to the low back and the lower extremities to finish out the talk. So while you're seated, you can perform a lateral rotation motion. So you're looking straight ahead, and you gently just move to one side on your own, or if you have a armrest, you can use your hands to kind of stretch you out a little bit more by pulling your body. And it shouldn't give you sharp pain, but a pulling sensation in the low back muscles is not uncommon. If you hold it there for a few seconds, you get a stretch, let's say 5 seconds, and then you can slowly return to the beginning or the starting position. And then you can do it towards the other side. So once again, we are using this activity in a stretch formation as opposed to a mobility activity. The mobility activity would be to move from one side of rotation gently to the other side 3 or 4 or 5 times. We'll work a little bit towards the lateral bending of the back, incorporated with the muscles along the side of your body So as you see, she's starting at the beginning and she's just bringing one hand over her body and leaning over. So that stretches out the muscles of your chest and also your bends your lower back to one side. So once you count to 5 seconds or so, you can come back to the center and then do the same thing to the other side. So slow and deliberate motions such as this will not damage you or hurt you, but they actually will keep those muscles and those joints more limber. And you can do this 3 or 4 times to either side when you have time and if you desire. That is more of a mobility activity. Then it becomes a little tougher because hips tend to become stiff as you get older for some people. So she's starting by just trying to put one ankle on top of the other leg, the thigh, and she's gently just crossing her legs essentially and then leaning forward. And once again, you hold that stretch for 5 or 10 seconds just to get a little stretch in your buttocks as well as in your hip joint. And then you start back at the starting position and you can put 2 feet on the floor again. And try this with the other side as well. So even just sitting there without leaning forward, you might feel a stretch. And if you gently lean into it while keeping your back straight and your trunk upright, it will focus the stretch towards your buttocks and deep muscles of your hip. And once about 5 seconds have passed, or 10, you can return to the starting position. We're then going to do some hip flexion and 2 feet on the floor, and then you lift one leg up as the model is doing here, and you can do this as high as you can, and you either hold it there for 5 seconds as a stretch, or you can gently bring your foot back down to the floor and then come back up again 4 or 5 times to get some active flexion activity to your hip. And then you can, of course, do it to the other side. Either, like I said, holding it as high as you can for a count of 5 seconds, or if you have more time and desire, you can do more than one of them. You can do 3, 4, or 5 repetitions of this. Once again, to keep the joints moving will keep them healthy. That way more fluid is being, more lubrication, and the muscles around them will stay healthier. We're then going to move down to the knee, and this is called terminal knee extension. So you have the foot halfway between straight and on the floor, and then you gently just try and keep your foot pointing up to the ceiling and get your leg as straight as you can. So holding it for 4 or 5 seconds is a good stretch and a good toning activity. But if you wanted to slowly bring your foot to the floor and then back up again in a slow, deliberate fashion, that can be a mobility exercise, and even against gravity, increase some strength in your legs. So once again, a seated, easy to perform exercise. There's no getting on the floor or anything. And the goal is to keep those knees also functioning nicely. The last one of the activities are the ankle motions, and these are pumps and circles. So it's hard to sometimes do both at the same time for this, but if you have good strength in your thigh muscles and can lift both feet up off the ground at once, you can gently just start rotating your ankles in as large a circle as you can 4 or 5 times, and then you can do it the other way, kind of get those tendons and ligaments to stretch out a little bit. So those were the circles, and then the pumps could just be pushing straight down like you're being a ballerina or pushing on the gas pedal, and then you bring it straight up like you're trying to bring your toes up to your face. So once again, slow, deliberate motions like this will kind of maintain the motion that you have in your ankles. So that essentially concludes what I offered was a little bit for each joint that we have exercise and activities on the PopDoc platform. So we call this preventive orthopedics. So preventive orthopedics is doing smart and useful things with your joints and musculoskeletal system in order to prevent the onset of pain or prevent the progress of pain and to allow you to stay as active, mobile, and independent as possible. These are easy to use, effective mobile subscription services. They maintain and preserve healthy joint function, trying to keep you independent and social, ultimately improving the quality of your life. These can be done just about anywhere. These are web-based activities that come to your smartphone, desktop, laptop, or tablet. If you are a member of a community center or in a living facility, you could ask them to reach out to me because I do have paper copies of these exercises that I could potentially bring to the center and leave them there if access to the internet is limited. So it is my belief and our belief at PopDoc that as little as 5 or 7 minutes a day, if you take some time to focus on your bodily health, you can positively change your life forever. We are making the move to better joint health at PopDoc, and I thank you for listening. What I want to do, please, for 1 or 2 minutes is just switch over to the actual website. So the website is open and live, and for instance, so all sample exercises on the site are just similar to the ones we just saw. If you were on the site and you wanted to find the appropriate exercises for an elder, and that could be anyone over 55, we categorize it as the preserve category, and it's about preserving what you have so that your joints and system can keep functioning and safe from decline, harm, or injury. So the preservation exercise groupings, as you can see here, there is neck, shoulder, elbow, wrist. There's some balance exercises which you can look into, but those do involve standing, obviously, because it is balance. And then there's lower back and hip, knee, and ankle activities. So for instance, the elbow preservation program, it would come with these exercises here. And these exercises are similar to the ones that you've just seen and we've just done together. So they are easy to follow, seated exercises in which it works on elbow bending and straightening and that tricep stretch that we did. So for a mere $1.50, you can get a 6-month subscription that comes right to your phone, of which you can use them once a day, once an hour, once a week, or once a month. It's unlimited usage, and it's at your fingertips, essentially, on your phone or in your pocket if you keep your phone in your pocket. So these are some activities and exercises that are available to you at a minimal cost to help you preserve what you have, diminish your pain, and keep you happy as you might want to be. So that's what I have for today for you guys, and I truly appreciate you guys listening and taking the time out of your day. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Hi, David. I'm back. This is Shayna.
Oh, hi, Shayna.
Yes. So I made it, and I'm
Good.
thinking Machi just started it for me today. So thank you. It was a really good presentation. It's helpful for especially our members. If anybody has any question, you can type it in on the Q&A box, so David can answer it. Because I know some of you are listening over the phone. For some reason, I cannot allow you to speak, unfortunately. But if you do have any additional question and need some information about the presentation, you can reach out to you, right, David?
Absolutely.
Can you put your last slide that has the information for your contact?
Yeah, so
that I guess the
hang on, I can do that.
Yes. We didn't start with our regular 2 minutes talking about PSS, and I know a lot of you might already know about our services, but to just go over it quickly, So we know we are a nonprofit agency that provides services to older adults. Our mission is to strengthen the capacity of older New Yorker and strengthen and have them stay connected and engaged in the community, right? The service that I'm currently working under is called PSS Circle of Care, where we provide services to caregivers who's caring for older adult who has a chronically ill illness or has any type of memory loss. So if you need of any information about our services, please don't hesitate to contact me. My name again is Shayna Jacques. My email address is sjacques, JACQUES @pssusa.org. And I know a lot of you received my information when you registered. So yes, you can reach me from that same information, or you can call me. The number is 917-734. No, that's my personal number. No, 917-734-9292. I'm so sorry. 917-734-9292. Okay. And also this webinar is being recorded and it will be posted on our website. If you want to go back and view it again, please do so. It will be ready in a few days until we make sure everything is clear and we can hear everything. So we're going to post it online at PSSUSA/resources, and you'll see all the past webinar we had. And also if you go to PSSUSA/event, you can see all the upcoming ones. Okay. So yes, the information for David is right there.
So if you guys do email, this is a good way to get me. It's info@popdoc.com. You can certainly call me, but email is a good way for me to communicate and for my team to communicate with anybody to help with any aspects of musculoskeletal education or care through the popdoc.com website.
Okay, let's see. We don't have any questions. Nope, no questions. But again, thank you. Please, if after the presentation you come up with a question, please don't hesitate to contact me or send an email to David, and then we'll be glad to help you and answer all your questions. Okay, thank you again.
Thank you. Be well.
And,